From now. I wanted to say a few things so we don't waste the time of Mr. Scorsese, his precious time here. So I wanted to do a couple of things to point out that we're here to be to the benefit of students and people who have questions for Mr. Scorsese. I was here yesterday with Charles Roven, and I was trying hard to get questions. I don't think I have to work so hard today. I think you have questions for Mr. Scorsese, but just pretend that you're an obnoxious American and stand up and demand that I pay attention to you and get your question. And so we'll try to get a lot of questions. We have, I think, sometime maybe close to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. So we have time to talk. And we want to talk about things of interest to young filmmakers and students. But before all of that, I have to ask everyone here a favor. I don't know how to say this in Italian, but can you tell my wife happy anniversary? We were married in Taormina, 2013. Thank you. We drove all over Sicily to get the stamp. You know the stamp? To get official, you have to get the stamp. What do you call this? Stampa? What is it called? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we got the stamp. And we drove all over the island. We got the official wedding certificate. We got married in the city hall. You can see our wedding pictures on Getty Images, because Tiziana makes sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. Thank you for helping us celebrate. I would also say, in terms of Mr. Scorsese, I have had the pleasure of having lunch with him. I've never had the pleasure of interviewing him in front of an audience. I think if you find the person in the audience who loves cinema the most, multiply that by 1,000, and you have Martin Scorsese. He is the greatest supporter and lover of cinema, in addition to America's greatest living filmmaker. I think we can say that, yeah? And so be prepared to get involved, because we came here specifically. Tiziana was very clear, and the team with Mr. Scorsese were very clear. They want this to be a conversation that is educational, helpful, philosophical for students, for people who wonder, how do you start as a film student, which was where Martin Scorsese began, and then have a career and make great art and great successes and have this love of the whole world. How do you do that? You know, what are some of the life lessons, some of the secrets of being able to do this and do it for a living, and to be artistic and creative, and to have longevity and survive? So be prepared to be involved. We're going to demand that of you. I'll sit down because I'm guessing. Let's see here. We're almost on time. One film by Martin Scorsese. Raise your hands. How about two films by Scorsese? And feel free to shout. What do you think is your favorite, his best, the greatest? What do you love from his Raging Bull, I heard a Raging Bull. What else? Shutter Island, interesting, yeah. There's an Italian guy in that movie, isn't there, named DiCaprio? Which one? After Hours is fantastic. Because I'm not much younger, you know, I saw these movies when they came out. I remember After Hours when it opened, and it's fantastic. No? Someone else? I don't know. It's not my, not my thing. Which one? Goodfellas, I love, of course. Casino and Departed is fantastic. Which one? Mean Streets, yeah, early, very early, great movie. Shutter Island is a fantastic thriller. It's fun to think back to these movies. So much influence, they created like a language. They say, thank you. We have a saying, you know, how can you tell if someone from Hollywood is lying to you? You can tell if their lips are moving. They're lying to you. So I lied, we're not quite ready. By the way, you know, it's great to be here all the way from America because it's the first time I can say that I'm from America, which is where the Pope is from. You know, it's sort of reversed a bit, you know. It's never happened before. I was raised Catholic, so I can make Catholic jokes, I hope. I hope it's possible. They may not be funny, but I have a right to make them. Actually, while we're waiting for Mr. Scorsese, I will tell you a story about being a young Catholic. I did not go to Catholic school, but I went to Sunday school, and my family took me to Mass every day, every Sunday. I grew up in a town. The town name is Fontana. I think it's Italian. So I remember, and this will also tell you how old I am. They came to our Sunday school and they were giving us tickets to a new movie that was coming out. When I was a little boy, there was a new movie that they gave tickets to go see. I don't know if you've heard of this movie, but it was called The Ten Commandments. Okay, that's how old I am. And I remember thinking how exciting it was to get tickets to this movie called Ten Commandments because I thought it was a World War II movie. I didn't know what the Ten Commandments. You can see I'm also not a very good Catholic, sort of a lousy Catholic. I got better. I do know what the Ten Commandments are now. In the meanwhile, yeah, of course.
Allora, mentre aspettiamo Martin Scorsese, ne approfitto per parlare un attimo con Steven Gaidos. Steven Gaidos è un membro della giuria intanto qui al Festival di Taormina, è un regista, è uno sceneggiatore, ha fondato Variety, è stato per tanto tempo vicepresidente di Variety. Now I'll start.
There's Tiziano.
Yeah. Ah, ok, perfetto. Allora ci siamo.
The funniest thing, the craziest thing, because it's really a movie thing. At Karlovy Vary Festival outside of Prague, there was a famous Czech director named Jiří Menzel. He won the Oscar for Closely Watched Trains, 1968, I think. What was called the Czech New Wave. One of the great filmmakers, like around the time of Milos Forman and Ivan Passer. Many years later, in the late 90s, he was there. He had a project that a producer had taken away from him, a book that he had owned the rights to for like 25 years. And we were in a theater just like this, and Jiří was there, and he saw the producer who took his movie project away from him, and he was carrying like a cane or a stick. And he went over there and he beat the hell out of this guy in front of everybody. All the cameras here, and the audience. It was like big opening night, and he like grabbed him in the corner and started beating the hell out of him. Now that's passion. There was a director who, and by the way, Jerzy did wind up making that film himself. It was called I Serve the King of England. It was a very famous book that Jerzy Menzel did. So that was pretty funny. I had also, you know, because I've been going to festivals for 40 years, just fantastic experiences of seeing movies and spending time with great people, sometimes very personal dinners. I wound up one night talking with Morgan Freeman because he was in the United States Air Force military the same year as my older brother. When my older brother went away and he left his rock and roll behind, his music, his records, I remember them all because that's where I learned about rock and roll. So I asked Morgan Freeman, what was in your record collection in 1957 when you went to the Air Force? They were the same records. We did drink a little together, and we did wind up singing the songs of the Coasters. I bet nobody here knows who the hell the Coasters are, but if you have Spotify, listen to the Coasters. They're the greatest. They're the greatest band. If Morgan Freeman was here, we'd be singing Coaster songs together. You know? So that's, you know, but festivals, yesterday I was talking here with Charles Roven. He's making a film now with a Russian director named Timur Bekmambetov. When I was in Karlovy Vary in '94, I reviewed Timur Bekmambetov's first movie. He was still a student when he made this film called Peshawar Waltz. So you don't realize when you're at a festival, you may see something that is the work of a filmmaker who's going to go on for decades of importance. Mr. Scorsese had his first movie in Chicago Film Festival in 1968, I believe it was. And there was a new film critic named Roger Ebert just starting out. And he reviewed it and gave it the greatest review ever. And he helped his career. And I assume they stayed friends because, but you never know. You come to a festival and maybe you discover something. I saw, because I was on the set of Reservoir Dogs, you know, when Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino went to Sundance, it blew everybody away. It blew everybody's minds. And I published the first interviews ever written anywhere with Quentin Tarantino. Did we know in 1992, 1991, that Quentin Tarantino would become maybe the most famous, important, certainly one of the 3 or 4 or 5 most important filmmakers of his generation. He was just a guy, but I can tell you as students something, because I am a bit older, and I remember interviewing Quentin. He was 26, 27 years old, and he made this movie, Reservoir Dogs, for about $1 million. I remember very distinctly one of the secrets that I feel is a secret to the success of Quentin Tarantino. He would walk through that wall to make a movie. He was determined. He told me when, you know, no one had ever heard of him, he was making this movie because he knew he was a director. He just didn't have a movie to prove it. But he already knew. So he had to make the movie to prove to people what he knew in his heart, that he was a filmmaker. And his confidence, his self-confidence, and his determination were, you could feel it. It like lit up the room, you know? And I don't have that. I don't have that kind of self-confidence. My determination is a little more easy, maybe, long-term. But he was determined then, 26 years old, had never made a film. Nobody had ever heard of him. I'm the first person who ever interviewed him for, you know, a profile, because Reservoir Dogs had not come out yet. It had not been seen at Sundance. Then it was. and it started, the Tarantino story began. Then it went to Cannes, and the story got bigger. And then a couple of years later, we were all together, because my partner produced Reservoir Dogs, my filmmaking partner. Then we were all together in '94 with Pulp Fiction. And that was like a holy anointing. This is the new guy, you know, this is the dude. But that's another great thing about festivals like Cannes. Cannes, you know, really said, David Lynch, this is an important guy, and Tarantino, and the Coen brothers with Barton Fink. You know, the festival tells you there's something early in the career, but this is something you're going to pay attention to, and it starts there. Even small festivals, you probably have never heard of Slamdance. Slamdance started in Park City, Utah, a little after Sundance, and Chris Nolan went to Slamdance with a little movie called Following, and then became Chris Nolan, you know. But when he was at Slamdance with Following, no one ever imagined this would become the man who wins the Oscar for Oppenheimer. Did everybody here see Oppenheimer? Yeah? Yeah? Most everybody? Yeah. I think it's a fantastic movie. Fantastic. Very well deserved. We sat yesterday with the producer of Oppenheimer and talked about, he also produced Chris Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, Chuck Rowan. But it starts, you know, you're sitting here as a student and your life is ahead of you, your work is ahead of you. You have to be very hardworking and very serious and put in the 10,000 hours, as they say, to get good at something. Learn to be an editor, cinematographer, costume designer, director, producer. Learn some craft and then work. My first movie I worked on as a production assistant for Monty Hellman, director, became my friend and partner, and we made movies together. I'll tell you what I learned from my first movie. I was an effing idiot. That's what I learned. Because I didn't do a good job as a production assistant. And the producer came up to me, and he never said this to me during the movie because he knew I was friends with the director. But he said, you know, if you work on a movie, you should never be sitting down, ever. You should be working the whole time. I know you're friends with the guy who making the film, but you know, you're kind of a creep, you know, you're kind of a jerk, and I would never hire you to work on a movie. I listen, I'm sitting here now 51 years later telling you the story. It really stung, you know, because I don't want to think of myself that way. I don't want to think that I was not hardworking and good at my job and not taking it seriously and being a bit of a jerk, you know. So every job is important. Everything you do really is important. It's like God is watching or something, you know. You have to really work and take it seriously. Last year in Rome, I sat down with Harvey Keitel. Mr. Scorsese and Harvey Keitel made this movie, Who's That Knocking on My Door? And I think it's on this, something that Tiziana has worked on, the Student Network. The interview we did was for this Student Network. You can watch it, where Harvey Keitel tells a very funny story about the first time they met, and they sort of like went like this. Boom. So it didn't start easy, but they're both passionate and serious, and obviously they did some good movies together. I think they're still good friends. But they were two kids in New York, and just starting this journey in cinema. So, you know, here it is decades later, 60 years later in their case, and they're still remembering and talking about these little things, these encounters, these things that happen that you don't imagine when you're 22 years old. It's so important. It's all important. Passion for cinema was ever stopped by failure or by obstacles. 2 weeks ago, I opened my new film in Europe in theaters that I came up with sort of the idea for the movie about 1975. It's American country music. It's a musical. I co-wrote it. I co-produced it. I wrote half the songs. We shot in 20 days in Louisville, Kentucky. 20-day shoot, $1 million budget, 1 million US, which is 700, 800,000 euros. It was very hard work to be a producer on a little movie for $800,000. You're constantly in terror that the whole thing is going to blow up, but I'm trying to do another one now. If you're into cinema, if you're into making cinema, if you want to be part of this, you know, I don't think anything will stop you if it's really important to you and it's meant to be part of your life. Thank you. I'm going to keep thinking about funny film festivals things because the funniest thing is movie stars in film festivals. Sometimes they take themselves a little seriously, and people run around trying to take care of them. Most of them are pretty.
You were the founder of Variety?
No.
Not only.
Variety is 120 years. 120 years.
Yeah, but
I'm old.
you were the vice president.
But I'm not 120. I'd have to be a vampire, which you never know. You know.
Can you share with us your experience in?
Well, I mean, you know, with Variety was is a fantastic publication because when Variety started in 1905. In Italy, or France, or United Kingdom, America, there was no cinema, there was no radio, there was no TV. All entertainment was live. And you called that the variety show and the vaudeville. And, you know, I just thought of my favorite saying from old Variety from before there was movies. And this, how do you call vaudeville and the variety show? You know, like with the juggler.
Varietà. Yeah, it's like a variety, it's varietà in Italy.
That's what variety came from, is that word, which was the variety show. But there's an old saying in vaudeville that I only learned, and I was at Variety for like 30 years. I only learned this saying from old vaudeville a few years ago. And I say it all the time now, and I think it's a good saying for you as students and people thinking about show business. And the saying is this, and
what about your experience?
But let me tell you the saying. It's a saying. It's like an aphorism. You know, it's a
aphorism. Is like
words of wisdom.
Something
like that. Aphorism. If you are not appearing, you are disappearing.
Avete avuto tutti la traduzione di questo?
So appearing means like being on stage. If I weren't here appearing on stage today, I would be somewhere disappearing. That's show business. You have to always be appearing.
It is what they used to say Nanni Moretti in Ecce Bombo.
Yeah.
You notice me more if I come to the party or if I don't come to the party. It's very similar.
And the Marx Brothers, how much do you pay us to perform? You know, $50. How much do you pay us to not perform? You can't afford us.
You have some memories, some episode that you wanted to share during your period in Variety.
just that, you know, I started going to festivals before I worked at Variety, and I love film festivals, and, you know, came here for Taormina, and we go to Sardinia Festival that Tiziana also organizes. I started going to Cannes Festival in the 80s, Berlin, Venice. You know, you have the memories of the movie stars and the filmmakers. You know, to be in Venice, I walked past the Hotel de Ban, I think it was called.
The band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sitting there by himself was Antonioni toward the end of his life.
Morte Venezia.
Yeah. And to see Antonioni, I never got to meet Fellini. I shook the hand of Ermanno Olmi. I sat down many times with Krzysztof Kieslowski. But all of this because of, we would be at a film festival and I was a journalist and it was a chance to do an interview. So, and Michael Douglas, 25 years ago, we sat down and talked. You know, there's some fantastic memories of incredible people, but it's not incredible because they're famous, it's incredible because they're talented, you know, because they're creative, because they do work.
Chiedo solo di abbassare un pochino la voce perché sennò non riesco neanche io a sentire Mr. Bedos. Grazie mille.
It's okay. There's a Fellini movie, I don't know how you say it in Italian, The Ship Sails On.
La nave va.
Yeah. We're all on a ship now, and we're sailing, but we're in the middle of the ocean, and the captain is not here yet.
We are waiting for the captain.
We're waiting for the captain, so we might as well enjoy the entertainment here. I wish I juggled. I don't. I don't play banjo. You don't want me to sing.
You are a director too.
I'm a writer and songwriter, but I have mercy and I don't perform. I have great performers who do the songs. You should see our movie. It's called My Country Heart. I hope it will come here to Italy soon. A great, you know, we have all young people in the movie who are actual musicians from Americana music. None of them were actors. And we made the movie, and all of the lead roles we cast with professional singers. Nobody's an actor. They're playing singers in the movie. It's about a young couple who go into a reality TV show and discover there's no reality in reality TV. But they're great singers. Maggie Kerner, Sam Varga, Stefan, I'm forgetting his last name. We have great singers in the movie, and they're all young, touring musicians. So we keep on, you know, on the road.
So keep on waiting. I was really interested in what you said during the press conference of the jury about what is the cinema for you. Do you want to repeat that?
Well, we can talk about it. You know that you know what you go to the movies for. Very early, I began to feel the movies were not just entertainment, that they were much more, and they teach you about life. They teach you about different cultures, different ways to see the world. And just to go to the movies to be entertained, it's fine, but boy, there's a lot more there, you know. If I think about a movie like 8½" by Fellini, even a movie that is funny and entertaining. Has anybody here ever seen a movie by a director named Dino Risi? Do you know Dino Risi? Dino Risi should be as famous as anybody. To me, he's one of the greatest directors. And his movies are really funny and entertaining. I think, did Dino Risi do Profumo di Donna, the Scent of a Woman?
Scent of a Woman, no, is
It's not Dino Risi?
Sì, Dino Risi.
It is Dino Risi.
With Vittorio Gassman.
With Gassman?
Yeah, with Vittorio Gassman.
Now, how great is that movie? I mean, that's much better than...
There was a remake.
Yeah, and Al Pacino won the Oscar. But the original Italian film is way better. Vittorio Gassman is so great. and Il Sorpasso. Has anybody here ever seen Il Sorpasso? Jesus Christ, what a great movie. I would go see that tonight if it were playing. It's such a great movie.
What
And
type of film do you prefer to watch?
I like all kinds, but I guess, oh, well, you know, someone interviewed me yesterday about Italian cinema today. And there is a new TV series on Netflix called Gattopardo. Yeah?
Il Gattopardo.
Yeah, it's the TV series version, and Visconti made the classic film version. But the television version is, I thought, incredible. There's a director who did one episode named Giuseppe Capotondi. Yeah. I wish he were here because he made probably my favorite kind of movie, which is crime thriller. And he made a fantastic crime thriller in Italy. I don't know how you translate the title into Italian. It's called Burnt Orange Heresy. It was in Venice Festival with Donald Sutherland.
With Donald Sutherland, yeah. It
Mick
was
Jagger.
Yeah,
Jagger
it was
was
the
in it.
closing film of the
Venice.
festival. I don't remember the title in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was Mick Jagger. There was
Mick
it
Jagger.
was the last film of
Donald Sutherland, one of the last films of Donald Sutherland.
I think that it was.
But it's a great crime thriller, and I love crime movies because when they're artistic, they have much more going on than just being about crime, you know.
Yeah.
So the crime thriller of someone like John Huston, fantastic. If you never saw Asphalt Jungle, you know, go see Asphalt Jungle. It's as good as any movie ever made.
Quanti hanno visto Giungla d'asfalto?
Yeah, John Huston spent some time in Italy, made some movies here. So I'm a big fan of John Huston, Sam Fuller, you know, American film director, Ken Loach, British director, great director.
Do you remember the first time that you went to the cinema?
Boy, pretty early I remember seeing movies, you know, like in, like I mentioned, the Ten Commandments. I thought it was a war film. So I went to see that. That was very early. I went to see a movie that Kubrick was supposed to direct, and he left the movie, and Brando directed it himself. Fantastic Western called One-Eyed Jacks. Marlon Brando. You've seen? Great Western. Shot in Northern California, very unusual, and was very young. It had a big impact. But you know, I grew up in Southern California in the 1950s, and they had made a deal with the motion picture studios to show movies on television for free in the 50s. So my film school, my Cinematheque, when I was 5 years old, 7, 8, 10 years old, I sat and ate ice cream and watched TV.
And what do you think now about streaming?
Streaming, you know, Gina and I watch streaming stuff all the time. There's a lot of good stuff. I just still prefer movies. But I prefer movies because I prefer the art form to be 90 minutes or 2 hours or 2.5 hours and have it beginning, middle, end. Take you on a journey in that time, tell you a story, land you at the end of it, preferably in a movie theater. To me, it's just all better. I don't understand the series, almost every streaming TV series that is 10 hours or 12 hours would be better if it were 2 hours. They stretch out the stories. So.
And what about AI in cinema? We talk
You know,
so much this year about the brutalist, the voice, the change of accent.
I mean, I think people will be laughing very soon, in a year or two even, that it was some controversy that somebody adjusted a voice in a movie with AI. AI does not seem to be something that any of us are prepared for how much it's going to change things. But in 5 years, the industry, probably thousands and thousands of the jobs like on special effects. Mr. Roven said this yesterday. Those jobs will not exist. but they're not really necessarily the most creative jobs. They're computer jobs, you know. So the computer is taking the jobs back.
If you have to describe to a person that never be there, what is Hollywood?
What is Hollywood?
What is Hollywood?
Oh, I have an answer for you because I actually used to once in a while do lectures about screenwriting in Hollywood, and I asked the people, like in Munich Film School, I said, I want to do a visualization exercise for you to understand Hollywood. Has everyone here seen the picture of the Hollywood sign? Do you know when I say the Hollywood sign on the hill with the big word Hollywood? Everybody has seen this? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, here's the visualization exercise. Close your eyes and imagine this. That word on the side of the mountain is not the word Hollywood, it's the word fear. Because everybody is afraid they're going to lose their spot, they're going to lose their money, they're going to lose their Rolls Royce, their swimming pool, their power. Someone else can do their job better. They're not young enough, or they're not making enough money for the studio. Everybody's walking around. It's a very fear-based. Mr. Rovin and I talked about it a little yesterday. He didn't seem to think of it quite the same way as I do. But from my point of view, you have to understand how much fear there is in the industry, that you know, you have to be commercial, you have to be successful, you have to be pretty, you have to be conventionally pretty, you have to be, you know, a certain weight, or you have to, you know, everything is someone telling you what you have to be. Going back to our conversation about Tarantino, Tarantino is the example of the guy who didn't listen to anybody except his own voice, and he just said, I'm going to do this, and nobody has ever told him what to do, you know, so he just did it. And if you're constantly looking around wondering, how do I please people, I don't think it'll ever work, you know. You just have to really believe in what you do and really work at it. But Chuck Rovin and I agreed, you can't live in fear. You have to be, you know, put that out of your mind and just proceed. Otherwise, you never get anything done. I think when Mr. Scorsese comes, I'm just going to leave and tell him I got tired.
Allora, vediamo un attimo di pausa. Io faccio una telefonata e cerco di capire tra quanto Scorsese sarà qui. Quindi intanto abbiate un attimo di pazienza, a brevissimo siamo da voi.